And there we are. So, hello and welcome. Thank you for clicking on this video interview. My name is Aylward, and this is my series, Stories, Inspiration and Lessons. I'm joined here today by Isabel Hundt, who is over in the US. It's 5:10 in the morning where she is. So huge admiration to Isabel for waking up. There's very, very few things in life I'd wake up that early for. So huge respect. And how are you today?
Thank you for having me. I wish I could sleep like you, but once you're a mom, you never really sleep again, ever again. So
Yeah,
you wake up with every single move that's going on just because you're listening. So I'm good waking up at 5. I'm pretty good. I might look still a
good.
little bit tired. I haven't eaten breakfast, so my stomach might be rumbling a little bit, but
Okay.
don't get distracted. It's just my
Sure.
stomach. I'm not trying to kill anyone.
That's brilliant, brilliant. So yeah, you have a 3-year-old, I read.
Yes, I do. Yes, and he's still asleep. He's a great sleeper. He goes to bed around 6:30 and sleeps till 6:30. So he's pretty good. He's a very
Wow.
mellow child. He's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's a good life to sleep that long.
Yeah, I mean, he's just making up for the time when he was like the first 2-3 months. You know, he's just still making up for that. I still hold that against him.
Yeah, sure. Brilliant.
Whatever. He's really good. He takes good naps too. So he
Yeah.
helps me being entrepreneur.
Yeah, sure. And you really are an entrepreneur. So you are a coach, same as me. You coach people. You are a speaker, and I've been checking out some of your footage on your website. And yeah, I've jotted down a couple of nuggets, just words that you've said that have really resonated with me, and I want to talk about in the interview.
Sure.
And you're also an author as well.
Yes.
So lots of things. And we spoke a little bit before we clicked the record button today. You've been in the US for 8 years, originally from where I'm sat at the moment in Germany.
Yes.
So for the people watching, how did you go from growing up in Germany to sat where you are in America?
It's actually funny because I feel weird even talking in English going to someone who's in German. But obviously you're British, so it's okay. But I have a little bit of an excuse. But it's my first interview to Germany. I haven't had that opportunity
Wow.
yet before. I had it all over the world, but not in Germany. So that's kind of cool to put that to my list.
Yeah.
But how did I end up here? That's a good question. I think I have to go back a little bit to tell this story because growing up, I always felt like the black sheep. There was something different with me. I didn't quite feel like I fit in, but I wasn't aware of that when I was little, at least not to the extent as I am now. I always, I had out of body experiences. I usually knew things that I couldn't have known. And so at 12 years old, I was exposed to American culture for the first time. We had American missionaries from the Bible school down south, Bodenseehof. I don't know if you heard of that before.
No.
Yeah, they came to our little sleepy town in East Germany, and that was the first time I got exposed to the culture, to the language, really, and that just got me excited. And one day I had a dream, or a night better, it was really a physical dream, and I was about 12. The wall came down when I was about, I was about 8, 9, probably. And when I was 12, my dad started his studying. He wasn't allowed to study growing up in the communist side of the country. He wasn't allowed to study because he was part of a church. And so once the wall came down, he studied social work, and I pretty much studied with him. And at that time, I also had a dream that I would have to go to the US and start somehow something. The only thing that I saw, and it still sticks with me over 20 years later, where I was speaking in front of a couple thousand people on stage. I just could see myself on stage, and it was like I was watching myself, and I knew I had a small child with me, and that's all I knew. And for the rest of that life until now, every time I drip or I go in the wrong direction or I want to give up, I have this dream again. And so starting at 12, I subconsciously, I don't know if I did it consciously, but I always kept enough clothes that fit in 2 suitcases. I never owned much because I wanted to make sure if time is ready and I have to go, I can right away without having to struggle too much about getting rid of stuff. So when I was 18, right after graduation, I left and came to the US for an exchange year.
Okay.
And it was kind of rough because I didn't really like it. I was with a family that wasn't very accommodating. The mother especially was quite mean. So it wasn't too great of an experience, especially for an 18-year-old, but I still felt like this is where I belonged. And then I got into a relationship from there, actually a few, and it's actually funny because I never really was in a relationship with a German guy. I always had Americans. Yeah, that says something. But I caught the wrong ones. That wasn't too great. But so back and forth, like after that, I obviously after this year I had to go back, but I always had this yearning that I had to go back, that I belonged there. For some reason, I always thought I was maybe adopted. Maybe I'm not even from Germany, because I felt so at home in the US, even though I didn't really like it that much. There were so many things, everything just bigger. If you go to the grocery store, if you ever come here, you need to go grocery store. Gosh, I mean, it's 3 times the size than what you could ever see in Germany. They have thousands of variations of different products, but mostly are crap products. And huge containers. I don't know who eats all that stuff in such amount of time before it expires, but hey, you can tell there's a health issue going on. But it was just everything too much for me, but still I felt like I belonged there. I needed to go there for a reason. And so even throughout my studying, I always had this in mind, this dream that I need to go and that I need to create something, and I didn't know what. When I came back to Germany, I studied economics, and it was more for the reason that I didn't want to do what my dad did, because my dad always told me, one day we're going to work and do something together. Like, there's no way we ever will. Sorry, Dad, but no. No way will I ever work with you. And that would have meant I would be stuck in Germany, and that's something I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
But I thought with economics I would find a job and could be getting a visa easier. But I got really, really depressed because I knew it wasn't what I was called or meant to do. I wasn't really into it. The only thing that I really liked was management marketing. That's all I liked. The rest I hated. And I got really depressed for 2 years. And I mean, I had classes from 8 in the morning to 8 at night, and then I had math tutoring. Yes, math tutoring. I should have gone to you, I guess, but I have math tutoring like at 10 o'clock at night and things like that. It was just horrible. And at some point I was at such a low that the university kicked me out. That doesn't happen very often, but they did. I'm no longer allowed to study economics in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland.
Wow.
Yeah, they're a little strict. I don't know if now, after all those years, I could probably get something going that I could, but probably I wouldn't want to. So I started over with social science, and I just aced that within 3 years. I finished my degree. I was running literally through my degree because I felt like I was already behind. I should be already way done and have a job and a family. And I was one of the oldest in that field. And oh my gosh, I just really beat myself up. I was like, I should be living in US. I should be doing something. And it just never was that way. And then I started working at the university with international students. So that urge just was there even more because I was able to work with the American students. And I'm not supposed to be here, but I don't know how to do it. It's so hard to get a green card to come here, and to even a work visa is hard to get. It takes years sometimes to get a visa. People don't understand that who live here. They still think you just get it thrown to you, but it's not true. It's really hard to get. And I was so driven that I forgot to really tune in with myself and trust myself more. And 8 years ago, I came back. They changed the laws that you can come back as an au pair again after 2 years in between. So for me, it was like almost 10 years. I'm like, okay, I can do it again. I didn't like it. I actually swore to myself that I would never ever do it again, but I thought maybe I can get a master's degree and kind of use that as a stepping stone.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back. I lived in New York, I lived in San Francisco, and then I came to Indiana. Nothing worked out. It was literally a story of betrayal and lies and kicked out. And I tell you in a little bit later why that's so hard, especially for empaths like me, someone who's highly, highly sensitive, to communicate with people who are a little shady.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite interesting. So then in the end, to make it short, I came here to Indiana, and that's where I met my now husband, which in itself is an incredible story. And if someone wants to hear the whole story, which probably would take too long, they can buy my book because there's a chapter in it that talks about it.
Wow. So it started. Wow. So it started from this this dream at 12 years old, and it sounds like there was almost signs along the way. So working with the international students and visiting the US at 18, and it not being great, but still having that feeling that you should be there.
Yeah, but at some point you just give up. You're like, because I also almost got deported. I had to go to Canada. So there were so many situations where it was so close. I didn't have $60,000 to study, so I couldn't get into it, even though I got the visa for it somehow. I don't know how. I assume that was a God thing, but it just, there were so many situations where I was so depressed and just laying on the couch and like, okay, God, I'm 28, 29 years old. I should be married, have a family. I have never even had a job at that time, like a full-time 8 to 5 job. I never had one. I always worked throughout college, but that was just all part-time, a couple hours, And I was like, I thought I failed. I really thought everyone in my friends, they had their relationships. They had a steady job and income, and I didn't have anything. I had zero on my account. And when you get to that point, you get so low that you feel like nothing ever is going to work out. And yeah, I think the biggest was really the trust. I didn't trust. I was always trying to make it work myself, and that never worked.
What was the turning point? Was there like a certain moment when you began to trust yourself and you began to allow things to change naturally?
Yes, actually, I remember that very vividly because that was when I gave up. I think sometimes when you, in your mind, give up on a thing, you just let the universe work for you because you don't try to handle it, you don't try to move it, and you don't try to make it happen. At some point, my now husband didn't want to get married. He had his 5-year plan, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to get into that. We haven't been together for long enough." And I was like, "Okay, I don't know another way." And I just gave up. I was like, "Okay, I'm just going to book a flight back home and see what happens when I get back home. I'm just going to give up on this whole dream. Maybe it was just not meant to." My parents always believed in me, but at some point they were too. I'm like, "Okay, Isabel, you need to change something. Something needs to change, and you can't just stay here and figure things out until you're maybe 40, 50. It's like, I know, I'm giving up. I was ready to just go back home and just leave it behind and just do what I studied. And that's about it. And that day that I gave up, like literally in my mind, I gave up. I didn't want to work on this dream. I didn't want to make things happen. That's when my husband came home and said, "I can't let you go. You can't book that flight." I really felt like God speaking to my heart, and I really believe it's the right thing for us to get married.
Wow.
Within 2 weeks, we got married. And less than 3 months, I got my green card. That is very unheard for. Like, it usually takes about 2 years to get a green card, to get through the whole process. And I mean, it was rough. The interrogation, I really call it an interrogation. It was rough to get through, but it's almost like once I gave up, I was able to co-create that dream that I had with God or universe, however people want to call it. And that was the turning point for me. When I looked back at that point, I realized I didn't give up, but I just let go.
So interesting, giving up and letting go. What would you say the difference is? I think I've got a bit of an interpretation, but what would you say the difference is?
Well, I think giving up is the emotional connection to your dream, that you're really just giving up always results, or almost always results, in beating yourself up, feeling like a failure. Even though I did that, but emotionally I was still so connected to that dream, because it became a reality in my mind that letting go is more of a going with the flow instead of always forcing things. You know, when you give up, you still force something. You're like, fine, then I'm not going to do it. And it's almost like this stomping like a child. Okay, I'm not going to do it. But when you let go, you just go with the flow and you let life happen in a way that it unfolds, and you're okay with it. When you give up, you're not okay with what's coming. You still you have resentment, it's hard to forgive. You still look at people that may have been the cause for not to be able to live that life. Like, there's so many things that, like, there's a different mindset behind giving up. Again, there's more resentment behind that, and frustration and anger, especially anger. But if you let go, you just let it unfold, and you're okay with how it unfolds. You trust more.
Sure. Letting go for me brings up the word surrender.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, can have this connotation of, you know, in war and battle, surrender, just, you know, almost giving up. But I think surrender is actually deeper. Surrender is about trust as well. It's about letting go, but still some trust that the universe, God, will help us along the way.
Yeah.
Sure. And you mentioned emotions, which brings me to my next sort of question. So when you had when you'd let go, you still had this emotional connection to this dream. You could still see it in your head. And this is one of the things that I scribbled down when I was watching your talks on the website. And I heard this and I was like, oh, this is good. You said, if we can't get there emotionally, we will never get there physically.
Yes.
And, I heard you say that, and I was like, yes. So tell me more about your thoughts on this, because I completely get this. Get this. So where does that come from?
Well, throughout my whole time, like, it's actually funny because emotions play such a huge role in our life, but we have created a world society where we push emotions aside, where we avoid them, where we ignore them, where we put them in bad or good categories. You're not supposed to fear. We fear. We're afraid of experiencing fear, and we create more of it. We stress ourselves out over being angry or upset, or experiencing sadness. Those are all kind of condemned emotions. And so we created a society that is really emotionally underdeveloped. However, now we know through science, especially when we look at quantum and metaphysics, everything is energy. We are energy. Your hand is energy. That's why, for example, when someone gets their hand amputated, when they have and I forgot what it's called, like a machine where you can still see, maybe they even do it with the Killian photography. Okay. But when they take a picture of your hand, even though it's amputated, you still see the hand. Like, the energy of the hand is still there.
Wow.
That's why some people say when they have something amputated, I still feel like it's there. It really is. The energy of it is still there. It's really fascinating to even think about it. So everything is energy. Your thoughts are energy. Your emotions are energy. Each emotion works on a specific frequency. That's how we can measure. And I think that's where there's a book out, Power versus Force. Now, who's the author? David something. Oh, I'm not so good at remembering stuff like that. But Power versus Force is a really great book too, where he establishes a scale of emotions. When we get to a certain frequency, this is when the emotion changes. So if the frequency of your body changes, you're healthier, but you're also connected more spiritually. And when we create a different relationship to emotions, we can feel more guided. Like, fear is not necessarily bad. It's the relationship that you have with it might be bad. Fear itself is actually just a a reaction of your body for intuition. When we are experiencing fear, we're very focused, real fear. Most people get confused with terror or panic or even sadness. Often there's so much different emotions behind what they identify as fear. It's not really fear. Fear itself is about intuition, focus, understanding the direction, because we know it. When we really actually experience fear, we're very focused. We can distinguish, like, should we run? Should we fight? Should we do something different? So that is when fear is actually a positive thing. It's not positive when you get into panic mode and you feel paralyzed in terror. That's when your whole system just shuts down, because it gives you the warning of, hey, total overstimulation. We can't handle it. If we don't stop now, something will happen to you. That's a different thing. It's same with anxiety attacks. It's literally just an overstimulation of your body. And we know now that especially empaths or highly sensitive people are more prone to that, because they have never known or don't understand the energy what to work with. And so when we talk about you can't get anywhere physically if you can't get there emotionally first, is because the energy of emotions is so much stronger than the physical part of it. The energy that you're sending out, the energy that you feel. And we know it. If we get somewhere physically, but we're emotionally not there to receive that, we always get pushed back. It's like those bouncy thingies where you run against a strong cord. You make it so far and then you get pulled back like really hard. That's exactly how it works. Physically, you might be able to get to a certain point, but if you're emotionally not there yet, the pressure is still on that band, that rope, and you're not in alignment, and you get automatically pushed back every time to the same spot. And people know that, where they're like, it feels like I'm running a vicious cycle, always the same thing, and that shows up. That's because you haven't emotionally invested as much to get to the point where you want to get physically.
Sure.
And that's most of the time with success. When we talk about success, so many people want to experience success and they're like, I'm going to get there physically, I'm going to hustle, and I'm going to put this work in. Well, if you would put as much work in your emotional work and your personal work and just stories that are connected to your emotions and releasing trapped emotions, there's actually like that's part of my work. I help people release emotions with a technique and intuition and Reiki part of. I bring that together, which is really powerful work. But if you don't do that, you will experience that success. You will always question even what you have accomplished physically. Oh, there's more. You will never be content or okay with where you're at. There's always this mind struggle. And when we talk about success, I think most people talk about happiness, not necessarily the material success, but it's more the accomplishment, the emotion that comes with the success, right? But we can't experience that if we haven't worked our way through from the past to where we want to go emotionally.
Sure.
So you always sabotage yourself if you don't work with your emotions.
Yeah. And just what you said at the end there really makes sense. You know, success about being happiness. I gave some training at the end of last year, and it was talking about, you know, we don't want money. We don't want to achieve our goals. It's always the feeling we want behind them. So I sometimes encourage people to, you know, get clear on that feeling. And instead of saying, right, I want to achieve this goal to get this feeling, work backwards. How can I get this feeling? What other goals can I set myself? How can I be? Yeah, completely. And this is really interesting. You know, energy is something I'm really, really curious about, sort of learning.
It's fascinating. I mean, even our organs are on a specific frequency in our body that resonates with specific emotions. That's also why we talk about chakras. There's really nothing mystic about it. Chakras is literally where your body, where you can measure different frequencies of energy. And those energies are in alignment with certain colors and certain musical tones. That's why we can talk about the binaural tones that we use often in meditation. And they all respond to a certain frequency of your body, a certain area. And for example, when someone is really worried about the future and family and always concerned, it has an effect on your kidney. A lot of people end up with kidney failure or kidney stones. That's a very very common. If someone is always suffering from kidney stones, they should probably take a look at their emotional state. If there needs to be something released. And if someone has that, hey, I can totally help. But it's just so fascinating to how, I mean, what we experience emotionally, the thoughts that we have, reach directly someone within the radius of 25 miles. People are not aware. It all happens subconsciously, but we are influencing. It's like a really simple example is when someone comes into a room and there's already people there and a party going on, but someone comes in the room and is totally angry and sad or whatever. Like, they don't even have to show it, but people pick up on it, and the whole room suddenly drops. The energy of the room drops.
Sure.
Like, what happened? And that's exactly what it does. We need to be aware of the thoughts that we have. When I speak, I always do a really cool experiment on stage. I have someone come up and I do muscle testing with them, because we know if something feels true and positive, our muscles stay strong. But if something negative happens, or our frequency, body frequency goes down, our muscles go weak if there's something not true. And so I have the audience send positive thoughts towards them, and we do muscle testing, and negative thoughts towards that person on stage. And we do muscle testing, and it's always fascinating. People don't even know what they're getting into, so they just have to do whatever I tell them to, and they trust me. And it's really fascinating how the audience has such an influence on the person on stage. Sure. And it's the same with speakers. That's why some speakers can't speak, because they can pick up the energy from the people, and then they're trying more in their head to figure out what's going on. That's often part of stage fright. They're trying to figure out what's going on in their mind, what they're receiving, the information, the energy waves that they're receiving, and they try to figure it out subconsciously, and so their body stops, so they can't speak because there's too much going on. That's why I train speakers, and myself, I do that before every time I speak, to give some specific exercise on how to protect yourself energetically, to not have this get all the way to you, and you don't have to deal with it, and you can just really focus on your message and get it out there. That's often the cause for stage fright. The overstimulation, the energy that comes, the expectation people send out. Oh my gosh, who is that person now? Totally unknown. Who knows what they're going to say? That's not necessarily positive, right? So when people send it out and you have 1,000 people, even just 10 people in front of you, you feel that. Yeah. You feel that energy of being questioned, of being held up to a huge standard that you feel like you can't maybe live up to. And knowing that makes it so much more, it takes away the power. Like, oh, that's what's going on. Okay, I can keep that away from me, and I can still do my stuff and be myself. It takes a while to get to that point. There is work involved, and I'm not saying just by understanding you will change everything. It took me over 5 years working consistently with other coaches. And I still do. I mean, my clients trigger me. There are things that happen when people sign up for some programs or in my group where I just get triggered, and I'm like, I'm so angry at this person, I don't know why, and then I work through it with my coach. That's why I need that for me personally. But yeah, that's just the understanding what emotions, the power of real emotions have. And if we can get a way of judging the emotion and just being with it, like anger is a great example. That is more about setting boundaries. Sure. If someone makes you angry, ask yourself, where did they not, where did you not set clear boundaries for yourself and for that person? But also, where did they cross certain boundaries that needs to be communicated? Where do you need to take care of yourself in the moment? For me, for example, often I get angry at women. That might sound weird, but I do. There's a thing there, because especially women who have a very strong female energy, because female energy is about nurturing and taking care. And as an entrepreneur, you try to be more masculine, and there's nothing bad about it, but you need to have a balance. Sure. Being out there, you have to be strong, you have to be dominant to fit in, to be known, and all that. And every time some of that female energy comes my way, I'm realizing, oh, I haven't taken care of myself. So I didn't honor my boundaries and what I need. And that when anger shows up, and I just have to sit down and realize that and acknowledge that. So if we can change, if we can change our relationship to emotions, we can get to where we want to go so much faster and more effective. And then we can have a bigger impact on other people. I mean, it's incredible what that would make possible.
Yeah, because there's no resistance. There's no resistance. There's not this forcing. There's not this pushing against. Said this. I think it's the bungee cord. You mean when people run on the inflatables with the bungee cord strapped to them, and they get so far, and then they back. And what you were just saying then about the resistance or the judging or the not accepting of the emotions of the thoughts. Reminds me of some training by, do you know Kyle Cease? He's an American guy, loving his stuff at the moment. He has a thing where he gets people just to talk to a stranger about anything, and when they get stuck and don't know what to say, they get this sort of stage fright. They get this feeling, oh, I don't know what to say. The other person has to prompt them to say, and I love that. So they have to say out loud, I don't know what to say, and I love that. And you'll just see this tension, this sort of melt away when they become okay with not feeling okay in that moment. And then these ideas pop up and they can talk or they can do what they want to. Such an interesting point. So what can people do to get there emotionally? I know you mentioned in your work, you do a mixture of sort of Reiki and another, what's the word?
Emotions code. It's called releasing trapped emotions. Yeah,
releasing trapped emotions. I think disciplines, that was what I was looking for.
Okay.
And what can people do themselves? Or are there things that people can do themselves to get there emotionally as well?
I think yourself getting there, we have been so trained today that it's hard to really understand it, like to work through it all by yourself. It really is. A lot of people try, but there are certainly a couple things that you can start out with. For one is that I tell every client, sit down for a week, have a journal with you, and write down every time you feel like your emotion is changing. What was the trigger? Describe what you felt if you don't know the exact word of what you just felt. What was the trigger that changed that? Why did you go from angry to happy again, or from happy to sad suddenly, or some grief showed up, or frustration or panic? What was the trigger? And then paying attention, and you can start seeing the pattern throughout. And you can, okay, this is the trigger that does that for me. That changes the emotion for me. And then being clear on that there's nothing wrong about this. Even if you don't exactly know what it's supposed to do for you, just acknowledge it. Oh, okay, I'm feeling afraid. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling upset. And it is okay. My body's just trying to tell me something, even if you don't know what exactly it is. But just acknowledging it takes away the power. And then just take a look at your body. Like really just close your eyes, tune in, and see where you can feel it. Most tension is around your chest and your back and your neck area, or maybe the lower back. Now I could talk about that forever, because for every emotion there's a specific correlation, but just pay attention, and then maybe even put your hands on it and send it some love. I know that may sound a little weird, but love still has energy, right? And if you just acknowledge that, I acknowledge that I feel upset, and I'm going to feel it for a while. I'm giving myself the time to just experience that upset. And when you feel ready, because you're listening to your body, when you feel ready, you can say, okay, now I'm letting it go without any judgment. It is no longer mine. I'm letting it go. And you can feel how things suddenly become lighter. You really have to mean it, though. If you just say it to say it, it's not working. That's why, again, the emotional understanding of what you just did actually worked, the trust, and then letting it go. But often that's something I realized so much, and I wish I would have had that a couple years ago when I started out with coaching. I realized that there's a lot of trapped emotions from past experiences. Sometimes it's even inherited. We talked about it, the generational curse. That's actually really a thing, and people did some research on that with certain illnesses, because certain illnesses are also connected to emotions. Because if there is a trapped emotion, it's almost like a dam. Like if you have everything you experience as a river going through your body, that's called free-flowing experience of emotions. And if there's a trapped emotion, it's like a dam. It stops everything, and it really does move things in your body. For example, if you have a trapped emotion around your lower back, that can cause all kind of liver, liver is in the front, sorry, kidney, spinal injury, sciatica is a big one that's usually emotionally connected. Those are just things, if you release that, if you're able to release that emotion, you feel less physical pain, you feel more free, lighter. I see it with clients now. I mean, it's incredible. One said, for the first time in years, I can actually breathe through my nose. I never was able to do that.
Wow.
Others said their knee pain went away, or chest pain, or they always had like tight shoulders, especially when I can see it. Like, I really have a great gift, and it's really incredible where I can scan people no matter how far they're away from me. I can scan them, and in my mind I can see where there are black spots, and usually those are, for me, the black spots are where they have something trapped. And then I can I have sessions with them over Skype or Google Hangout, depending on where they're at, and I can release that. I work with, I have such a strong intuition that I can connect with the person, and I can work as a proxy myself because of the Reiki background that I have. And then I use magnets. Those are really strong magnets to redirect certain energies and help release certain things. And it's funny because with what I do, the technique that I use, and the questions that I ask, we only work with your subconscious mind. So those are questions you could not ever knew the answer. It's like, is this trapped emotion column A or column B? Is it in row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? And people don't know what that means. So they have to trust their subconscious mind that it will give the answer. And we're able to locate where in your body it's trapped and exactly the emotion, what it is. And even most of the time, we're able to track the event that happened. At what time in your life did that happen, and when did it get trapped? And then we're able to release it. And most of the time, some people don't feel anything, as some people feel it a couple of weeks later. Some feel it right away. Most of the people that I had so far, they felt it right away, and they just cry, like, oh my gosh, it feels like a total release, and I could feel how things were moving in my body. That really has helped a lot of people to powerfully move forward. It didn't feel like that bungee cord was still there to pull them back, so they could actually really move one step at a time. And it's incredible work. And combining that with the normal coaching, I'm a certified ontological coach, so that works really well. We talk about essence and survival mechanism and more of the spiritual side of coaching. That combined is incredible work. And so, yeah, but if people really want to just dive in themselves, for one, it's a good thing to get my book. That's just shameless promotion. The power of faith-driven success is not necessarily about all the Bible and faith and, things like that, but it does bring some aspects in that where I explain the science behind how our body works, how our heart and mind work together, and how that is fundamentally proven in the Bible. It's really interesting to bring the science together with the spiritual part. And so it's a really great, fundamental, simple to understand book with some exercises in it and how to protect yourself emotionally, as well as in my Facebook group, World Visionaries United. Even on my website, there is a downloadable document right now, 5 simple ways to protect yourself from negativity, which is more about the energy that comes your way. So those things help to really get that's the wrong word for it, but to get emotions under control, because you never really can control them. You just need to learn to let them flow and to just go with it. You don't have to act on them. Someone who's angry doesn't have to punch someone. They just have to sit down like, okay, what am I feeling actually? Sometimes that means you need to go and work out some, if that's what you need. You need to release some stress or whatever. But yeah, in general, just keeping track for maybe a week or two and seeing the pattern, the cycle that you go through, then you can really take a look at, this is how I can break it up. If you have this advanced awareness. Many people don't, so help is probably needed. But if people have this awareness and they want to try it, hey, why not? If that's what you can do for your life. Whatever you do helps you to really live your calling and understand your purpose, and then create that for a greater good. And that's all we need. I mean, that's really what our work is about. If you can do that, you create a ripple effect wherever you go, and we can all together change the world.
Yeah, I believe that. And this is fascinating. I could listen, but some really, really valuable tools and tips there. I know that people watching are really gonna have some really valuable takeaways from that. So thank you for sharing. And I'm going to check out your book. What's your book called, sorry?
The Power of Faith-Driven Success. Now, a lot of people might get a little bit irritated by the subtitle because it's what is the subtitle? I think something along the line, Living Your Dream by 30 or something.
Okay.
I can't even remember my own subtitle. Isn't that sad? Wow. I work a lot with people under 30, 35, and I speak at colleges and universities in young adult leadership conferences. So that's why the book is geared towards them. But I think more people over 30 read the book than people under 30, which is kind of funny because they always felt like they missed out on something in their 20s, so they have to catch up on it now, so they need to read it.
Oh, interesting. It's a
really good foundation. Very simple. English is my second language, so I had to try to keep it simple from what I was able to read for other people to understand. And I think that's even an advantage for me, because I don't use all the fancy schmancy language. People don't even understand what I'm talking about. So it's a good thing, I guess.
Perfect. And leads me really nicely to my next question. So your book is targeted for people under 30, 35, and you go to colleges and you speak. I do a lot of work with young people as well. So as well as coaching, I do sort of teach, I tutor. What do you love most about working with young people specifically?
They're not so stuck yet. They're really willing and want to understand. I think that's the thing. What I'm realizing too is we see a huge shift with younger people. They are more purpose-driven than money-driven, where older generations seem to be more the safety and the stability of money for their future. Young people don't have that understanding as much anymore. They are more about community and how can we change things. They don't just take a job because of the income. They take a job because of the mission that goes with that position. How can I be involved in creating something bigger? How can I evolve your message? They're always looking for more. And that's what we're seeing with younger people. There's such a shift, but they don't understand really what's going on inside of them and what they're being taught on the outside. If you just look at how our education system is set up, or advertising, commercials that you see, it all goes to money. That's what you need, the luxury. But there's a reason why minimalism and simplicity is becoming such a big factor now in work, because that's what people are drawn to. They don't want to have the big things anymore. They're okay with small houses, but they want to experience more. It's about the experience, not what they have. And that's why I love working with younger people so much, because they work with me. They actually do the work. They don't just sit and like, okay, maybe not. They actually do the work. And most of them suffer from depression. And there's a rise in empath warriors. I've created that term myself because I realized that people who would consider themselves as introvert have this really strong message. They're really intuitive with other people, but the strong message to get out there, because empath are healers of some sort, teachers. So they need to get out to really be fulfilled and have this purpose, be able to live that purpose. And that's the warrior inside of them, the hard warrior. And so I bring both together. So I teach them how to be okay as an empath, to survive as an empath, and then how to take that switch to being a warrior, to taking that knowledge to becoming a warrior and using that to become stronger as a person. And we see that rise in younger people. And most people who are diagnosed with panic attacks and depression and on medication, they are not really clinically sick. Obviously, I don't want to diminish any of that who really are, who really benefit from those medications. Sometimes it's really needed. I mean, there's a reason why we have it, right? But a lot of times they are just is the wrong word. They are empath, and they are just so overstimulated that they withdraw. And when you withdraw, you're no longer connected to things outside of you, and you feel lonely, and that's when you get depressed.
Sure. Yeah.
A lot of them I was able to either get down from their medication, so they were able to reduce it, or they were even able to just not take it at all anymore because of the techniques that I can teach. And just the understanding, there's nothing wrong with me. Just that understanding, it's such a trigger and such a switch in their mind that it's like, oh, I don't really need that. There's nothing wrong with me. It's just my body telling me something. And it's incredible. So you see that with younger generation. They're more open to this understanding and this. They want to. They don't want the medication. They're more, you see it. I know from my mom, she said even in Germany, more people become vegan, or they have their own gardens. They are more into organic food. And they understand the importance of that. And again, food also has energy. So if it's GMO modified, it brings down your own body's frequency, and the lower your body frequency, the more you get sick. Young people seem to understand that more, but they don't have the understanding behind it. Why? And I think if we can help understand that better, it becomes more natural to live a healthy and abundant life.
Sure, definitely. And the funny thing is, everyone can relate. The example you gave earlier on, somebody walks into a room, we know they're angry, it's not quite tangible, we can't explain. I just feel it. I just feel how he's feeling. We all get that. And I think really the next step is just, filling people in, getting people understanding that how energy works and how it's related to sickness.
And it's not witchcraft or anything. It's really just how you're being made. God had a plan when he said that. I mean, even Jesus worked with that kind of skill. He healed by laying on hands, right? He did that somehow because he was human. So he did understand the power and that comes with it. But I think often, and that goes back to spirituality, we have to understand that all that power is inside of us. I say God within and not just somewhere out there. If we can acknowledge that power, we have the power to really change things. But I think a lot of people are just afraid to acknowledge that because it takes responsibility once you actually commit to it.
Sure. Yeah, I get that. What I love about responsibility, I think the definition has changed. I think people feel responsibility, that's the word, as blame, as fault. And when people assume responsibility, it feels quite heavy. It's, I'm responsible for this. If you actually look at the word, responsibility is the ability to respond. It's not about blame. It's literally saying, I can deal with that. I can solve that. I can work through that. That's an interesting point. It's interesting. So much of what you said, shared has come up for me like the last few months. And I think, it's great. I think we're meant to connect. I think we're meant to have this conversation.
I totally agree. Every time I have something coming up or some conversation, I trust that there is a divine guidance behind it, and it's for a greater good. Like that mindset has literally saved my sanity as entrepreneur. So many times we just want to give up and like, why am I doing this work? Oh gosh, no, I'm done.
Sure. Well, yeah, I've loved listening to you. I've loved asking these questions. I could speak for hours, honestly. But I would like to sort of wrap up just with a couple of I call them fun questions. They're just some spontaneous questions that I planned, so they're not really spontaneous. But they'll be spontaneous for you. Just to end today's interview. So the first one is, if you could have a mentoring session, like a 60-minute session with anyone in the world, maybe it's a guru, maybe it's someone whose book you've read or work you love, who would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a good question. Probably the Dalai Lama. I feel, or even any kind of monk, if you understand how they meditate, I would love to learn to really know how to meditate. I would say I probably do know, but I'm not really good at it. But just learning from them how to have this spiritual deep connection, that really feels like guidance. Just sometimes when you look at them, even the Dalai Lama, he just sits there and is okay with things. It's like, oh yeah. But I guess you can also point that back to Jesus. I mean, he too was able to say, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm just going to deal with it and work with what I have. And there's just so much power behind that. I think those are people that I would love to talk to. I'm like, how can we teach other people and teach me how to be okay no matter what shows up?
Okay. Do you know what? I'm going to connect you with someone. He's an amazing guy. He's in America as well. His name is Alex Mill. He lived as a Zen Buddhist monk, I think, for over 10 years. And now he's a speaker, a coach, and he has an online program about compassionate self-mentoring. I've done a little bit of work with him. He's incredible. I think you two together would, I
would love that. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
So I'm going to connect you with him because, as you were describing that, I was like, right, that's Alex. So we can tag him.
Awesome. That sounds great. Yes.
Do this.
Awesome.
Brilliant. And final question: if you could visit anywhere in the world, so let's just say that I'm paying for you to go on a jet anywhere in the world, leaving tomorrow, so you can have some breakfast and do stuff today. Where would you go? Anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world. And that's funny because I think we talked about that. I would probably either go to Ireland or New Zealand. It would be hard for me to distinguish which, because New Zealand is kind of cold right now. Ireland is getting a little warmer. So if it was tomorrow, I would probably choose Ireland. I'm fascinated by the Celtic culture, the nature, the landscape. It's just so beautiful. I just want to take that in. It's always been a dream and I never went. It's so stupid, really. I mean, from Germany, you can fly for €50 or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still.
Yeah.
I never did it. Why did I never did?
It's still there. It's still there. Yeah. West of Ireland is phenomenal. And all these pictures here in New Zealand. It's funny you mentioned New Zealand. All of these pictures here
Nice.
Have a landscape from there. So you go to Ireland. Yeah, the weather is beautiful there at the moment. And it's just the landscape, the mountains, the sea. I'm sure you're like me. You just love the sea, the ocean.
I probably would be worried that I wouldn't want to come back.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's the risk. Ireland.
But hey, why not? It's closer to Germany, so I would actually be able to make it home at some point. So there's a bigger chance. My husband probably would come with me. We might have to import his mom, but that's. You can do that.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you so much for your time, for your expertise, and for waking up.
Thank you. It's still dark outside. I was just looking outside. I'm like, it's still dark. I just have my light on. I probably need a different light if I do more interviews at 5 o'clock.
All good. So thank you so much. We're going to put your websites below. And also your Facebook group you mentioned as well, because I'm not a member of that yet. I'd really like to be. So just some your website, your contact details, so people can get in touch with you. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure, and I'm sure we're keeping in touch.
Yes, definitely. So take care, and goodbye for now.
Bye.
Bye.